Alright, let's see. Will this work? Let's test this. There we go. In theory, it should be live, but for some reason, it's not showing it on there. Okay, now it's working. Good morning to everyone in the Philippines. Sorry about that little bit of a delay. I was just trying to get started up on a stream again. Hi, Richie. I see you in the chat. Hello, honey. I see you also in the chat. Again, sorry for the delay. It's been a while since I've done a stream. Okay, so let me just share it real quick. And yeah, let me check how long it's been since the last live stream. It was 4 weeks ago, so it has been a while. Hi, Mamberds. Hi, Minecraft. So today we're going to be discussing Tropical Storm Nokaen, also known as Ada, in the Philippines, which is currently nearing the Catanduanes. So let's go over it now. The forecast cone. So right now it looks to be peaking out as a severe tropical storm, and it will likely maintain that intensity over the next 12 to 24 hours before it begins to gradually or quickly weaken down to a tropical depression within about 2.5 days or so. In theory, it should be degenerating down to a remnant low by around day 3, and by day 4 it still may be lingering, but by day 5 it looks most likely to dissipate. Some models do have the system ultimately making a hook back towards the Philippines as a weaker disturbance, but that's a little bit far out from right now, and it wouldn't bring as many impacts as what it's doing right now. So, talking about impacts, the threat level of impacts, there are marginal impacts that are expected for the northern Samar. These are additional impacts on top of all the rain that has already fallen, and also a majority of the Bicol region, minus Masbate, and also parts of far southeastern Calabarzon. And then over here in, this would be the Cagayan Valley, some areas there in the northeastern portions, seeing at least marginal impacts. Now, areas that are expected to see slight impacts, additional slight impacts, that does include the Catanduanes, as well as portions of northeastern Camarines Sur, and probably far northern portions of Albay and Sorsogon. Those areas are expected to see additional slight impacts. And what do I mean by those slight impacts? Well, noticeable storm conditions with gusts capable of knocking down tree limbs and causing power outages. Localized flooding may affect low spots. They are expected to see over 100 millimeters of rain, and that's the main concern. But they could also see winds, sustained winds of over 95 kilometers an hour. Alright, now let's look at the world of tropics right now, since there's a fair amount going on in each of the north and southern hemisphere at the same time. Starting off with the eastern Pacific, we have a rare January disturbance here, now with a 30% chance of development over the next 48 hours, and then after that it will be meandering into cooler waters, killing its formation chances. We, of course, have Tropical Storm Nokaen here with winds of around 65 miles an hour. That storm's likely peaking, and we already discussed where that's going. There is also a disturbance behind it, only with a 10% chance of development, and it's very uncertain what that would do. But if anything, it looks like it's just going to be a sloppy mess out to sea. We also have Dudzai here, which is now down to a Category 1 cyclone, and that is expected to continue to quickly weaken as it speeds towards the south. Could impact the island of Rodriguez. Other than that, though, it should mostly remain out to sea. We also had a brief tropical storm here, 96S, which is now down to a tropical depression, and it could degenerate down into a remnant low within the next 6 to 12 hours. Also, the remnants of Koji are expected to potentially revive itself when it gets back out into the northwest of Australia there. Now the chance of formation is up to 40% chance now. So it could reform before impacting northwestern Australia. And to the east of there, along the eastern coast of Australia, there's a disturbance now with a 30% chance of development. And of course, we've been tracking Invest 94P for a while. Those formation chances have gone down to 70%. But regardless, though, it could become a decently powerful bomb cyclone as it impacts New Zealand. We are currently code orange for Tropical Storm Nocan, also known as Ada, in the Philippines. Let's see now. Going now to satellite imagery, the visible satellite imagery of Tropical Storm Nocan, you can see that the center of circulation is located just to the southeast of where all the thunderstorms are located right now, as it is a little bit sheared. And if we look at infrared imagery, we can see just how crazy this convection is, where these thunderstorms are bursting so high up. The cloud tops there are so cold. As earlier, it was exceeding minus 100 degrees Celsius, so very cold cloud tops there, meaning it's very powerful thunderstorms underneath. Fortunately, most of it is just offshore, but some of it is impacting the Katanawanas and parts of the Bicol region. Fortunately, though, areas like the eastern Visayas region, mainly parts of northern Samar, are now getting out of some of those heavier thunderstorms, and now it's mainly impacting, again, portions of the Bicol region. Areas in central Luzon, mainly eastern portions there, and the Cagayan Valley could be seeing impacts fairly soon with the system as it continues moving in that general direction, but it will eventually hook towards the northeast. We're fairly confident of that. Now, in terms of sea surface temperatures, they are marginally warm, around 28 degrees Celsius, but those are going to be going down as it continues moving to the northwest. One of the reasons it's going to be weakening. Now, looking at the other reasons it's going to be weakening, well, shear is expected to increase quite into the moderate category. Sea surface temperatures are going to remain marginal, and then dry air is going to really be impacting the system over the next few days. But as you can see here, most of the models have it hooking back to the southwest eventually, headed towards areas like Calabarzon, Metro Manila, kind of these whole areas. But that would be beyond the 5-day range. Now, in terms of distances from certain areas, right now, Ada is currently around 75 kilometers to the east-southeast of Verac in Catanduanes. Other areas in the Bicol region around 100 to 200 kilometers away. From Samar, it's now 80 kilometers away, and that number is continuing to increase. Masbate City is around 200 kilometers. Metro Manila is down to 460 kilometers away, and the Cagayan Valley is down to 490 kilometers. As you can see, the latest Joint Typhoon Warning Center forecast does have it hooking, almost doing a complete loop, and it could continue on after this forecast. So it could be meandering off towards the west. Believe this is going to be a, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, this does look like it is the 5-day forecast cone from the Joint Typhoon Warning Center, meaning that it is living on day 5. My forecast cone does have it dissipating by day 5, but it could very well still be lingering on as a remnant low circulation by then. Now let's take a look at the various model runs, starting off with the high-resolution model. This is the HWRF model run. It does have the Catanduanes getting pounded this morning before eventually it clears up, and then it's mainly portions of Cagayan Valley and central Luzon getting impacts by it before it eventually loops back towards Samar, but it's a very sloppy system by then. Looking at the HAFS A model run, it's a fairly similar setup there. It moves to the northeast and then moves back to the southwest, but it still may be a decently organized tropical cyclone, maybe a bit sheared. Most of the thunderstorms still on the western side as it impacts Samar and Masbate and the Bicol region again. Even the western Visayas could be getting impacts within the next 5 days. Now, looking at the other model runs, like the European run, we can see it try to loop back to the southwest, but by the time it does that, it's a much weaker system. If we pull up the 12Z run, it should see a fairly similar setup there, maybe a low-pressure area moving in towards eastern Visayas. Looking at the American model run here, it should show pretty much the same thing. It will be weakening up until it approaches the Philippines again. Not really seeing any significant development out of it. Canadian run, same story there. Pretty much dissipates before it reaches the Philippines. And if we look at the German model run here, it shows it just stalling out quite a bit near the Philippines before eventually moving in, probably as a weak tropical depression or tropical storm. And if we look at the Google AI models on what they're showing, the ensembles here, you can see it does hook quite dramatically to the northeast, and it moves pretty far east away from the Philippines. This is a better case scenario, meaning it's not likely going to recurve as such a stronger system. The quicker it makes the turn, the more impactful it will be towards the Philippines, because it has less time to weaken at that point. We can also see the other disturbance there that is going to be moving towards Guam. That's the one with a 10% chance of development. Not really seeing any strong signals, though, for it to become a typhoon or anything. And then beyond that, maybe some other signal in the next 2 weeks or so, but nothing too extreme. And of course, we have Dudzai over here, which is going to be moving pretty close to Rodriguez. As a possible cyclone. It will be to the south, fortunately. None of them are showing a landfall at all, and then that will speed off out to sea. Looks like something potentially impacting Madagascar there. I haven't really highlighted that as an area of interest. And we have the other systems by Australia, two on either side, or one on either side. And then, of course, we have Invest 94P, which will be speeding off towards New Zealand over the next 5 days. That may be the system we'll have another update on over the coming days if that does indeed become a tropical cyclone. And now let's briefly take a look at all the systems here on the European AI model and what they're showing it will do. So this disturbance in the Eastern Pacific does have a bit of a spin to it, but not a whole lot. It did have a lot more on the earlier model run, as you can see here in that orange color, the darker orange, almost reddish color. That's likely a tropical cyclone at that point. The latest model run doesn't show it as much. In terms of the Western Pacific, we can see where Ada is going to be headed off towards the northeast before potentially hooking back to the southwest. Then you can see the other area of a spin here to the southeast of Guam. Could see some developments. And then here there is going to be a frontal system that will be moving towards Madagascar. We could see maybe some subtropical development out of that. Other than that, though, we have, let's see, anything else interesting? Well, we do have the one that could be threatening Australia in the next 10 days or so. It's going to be the remnants of Koji right over here, which are going to be meandering to the west, moving back over water before potentially becoming a powerful cyclone and impacting Western Australia. That is a possibility, but it's a little bit far out. You can see some of the other model runs. It's been decently consistent. Looks like the European run on it becoming a decent tropical cyclone there. So that is going to be something we'll have to be watching over the next couple of days. And I will continue to keep you all updated there. Now let's read some of the chat messages here. Any update from Ada? It is currently a severe tropical storm, winds of around 65 miles an hour, and it is likely peaking out over the next 12 hours before it gradually weakens and curves towards the east. Let's see, when will the Pacific Typhoon season animation be released? Not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, okay? So I'm almost finished with it. Apologies for it taking so long. I've been quite busy. Alright. Yeah, road to 6K, thank you all so much for that. So we are so close. We are down to 43 subscribers away from reaching 6,000. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Now, I did want to make an announcement here that if you've seen on other social media platforms, I've made this announcement, even on the YouTube post thing. I may be chasing internationally now this year in August. So if you live in any of these regions in the highlighted area, be sure to reach out to me on one of these social media platforms. You can I'll show you the areas first, and then I'll explain how you can reach out to me. So if you're in Bermuda, the Bahamas, the Turks and Caicos Islands, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands or the British Virgin Islands, the Lesser Antilles, the Dominican Republic, Jamaica, Cayman Islands, parts of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize, northern Honduras, and eastern Nicaragua. If you're in any of these areas, you can reach out to me. I really would appreciate it if you could reach out to me. In the Western Pacific here, if you're in Japan or South Korea, the Sakishima Islands, Taiwan, Batanes Island, really the entirety of the Philippines. If you live in the Philippines, please reach out to me, as that's probably where I will be chasing in August if there's something headed your way like a typhoon. Also along the southern coast of China, southern Guangdong, Hong Kong, southern Guangxi, all these regions, if you live there, please reach out to me, as it really helped out a lot. Even in eastern Vietnam and Hainan Island, those areas, you can reach out to me. That'd be much appreciated. And now we'll go into how you can reach me in a little bit. In the southern hemisphere, if you're in Madagascar, Reunion, Mauritius, the Comoros, or Mayotte, or eastern Mozambique, please reach out to me. And in Australia, if you're along the coast of Australia, highlighted here, please reach out to me. So I know a lot of you are from the Philippines watching right now. So I would appreciate it if you could, if you're able to help me potentially chasing and give me like a little bit more insight about the region, especially if you're in areas along eastern Luzon. I already have a lot of connections in Metro Manila, but I do need connections in eastern Luzon. So if you want to reach out to me, you can send me a message on Discord. If you join the Discord server, you should be able to see me there, and you can just send me a message there. Also on Instagram, if you follow me at Hurricane Chaser Chase, you can send me a message there letting me know that you're willing to help. And even on Twitter or X, you can follow me at Hurricane_Chase and send me a message there. See, well, thank you all so much for watching. And in terms of the next update, that will likely be within, I'd say, within 4 to 8 days or so. And will likely be on Koji or 94P, as those systems will likely be the next big threats. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next update. Stay safe.